Okay, let's unpack this. You know how sometimes a day starts completely normally,
Mm-hmm.
just ordinary,
Hmm.
and then suddenly it just pivots
Yeah.
violently.
Mm.
That was Thursday, June 12th, 2025. It felt like just another afternoon. People working, traveling.
Just living their lives.
Exactly. And then, well, in a flash, over Ahmedabad, everything just shattered. The sky, it literally felt like it fell.
And that's what we're doing today, really getting into the heart of that event. We've been looking through the reports, the different accounts, all the raw information,
Yeah.
trying to piece it together to really understand the scale of what happened with Air India Flight AI171.
Right. Our goal here really is to sift through everything, find the clearest picture we can based on the sources we have. It's obviously a very heavy story, full of sorrow.
But it's also one that shows these incredible human moments, too. Heroism, global connection. We want to understand the whole sequence. What happened? Who was tragically involved? How did the world react? And crucially, what are the questions I'm still asking?
Think of us as trying to guide you through this. It's difficult information, but it's important. We're pulling out the key facts, the details, the personal stories, trying to help make sense of a moment that, well, shocked everyone.
Okay, so let's go back to that afternoon. Picture Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad. It's about, what, 1:39 p.m. Indian Standard Time?
Yep, around then, just the usual sounds of a busy airport,
Right.
engines whining, ground crew moving about, announcements.
Passengers heading to their gates.
Exactly. And right there, ready to go, was Air India Flight AI171.
A Boeing 787 Dreamliner, registration VT-ANB, I believe.
That's the one. It was set for a long-haul flight heading to London Gatwick.
And on board, 242 people. Just let that number sink in for a moment.
It's 230 passengers, 12 crew members. And the passenger list, our sources show, it really reflected how global travel is now. 169 Indian citizens, 53 British, 7 Portuguese, and 1 Canadian. People going home, starting trips, business, lives connecting across continents.
Yeah, just a cross-section of life, really.
So the plane starts its takeoff, runway 33, everything looks completely normal. The engines spool up, it accelerates down the runway, lifts off.
That initial clam out, something pilots and passengers experience safely millions of times every single year.
But this time, something went wrong. Almost immediately. Just moments after getting airborne, it seems like there was a catastrophic failure.
We know the plane started losing altitude fast.
And the eyewitness accounts from people on the ground,
Yeah.
they're just chilling. People described it like a wounded bird.
Spiraling, yeah, completely out of control, falling back towards the city.
And where it hit, that just compounds the tragedy, doesn't it?
It really does. It didn't crash in an open area. The wreckage came down right inside the complex of the Civil Hospital and BJ Medical College, a major public health institution right on the edge of the airport.
A place meant for healing, for learning, just instantly turned into this scene of utter devastation.
The immediate aftermath must have been horrific. A huge fireball, witnesses said. Thick black smoke pouring into the sky.
Visible for miles across Ahmedabad. You saw the videos circulating online almost instantly.
Yeah, those were hard to watch. And the impact on the ground at that hospital and college, it was immense. Buildings damaged, chaos everywhere.
And it's right there, in that inferno, that we hear about stories like Akash's.
Oh, yeah. Such a heartbreaking story.
He was a local guy. His mother ran a tea stall nearby, right near the complex.
That's right. And when the plane hit, he apparently just ran straight towards the fire, into the danger, trying to find her, trying to save her.
His mother, incredibly, she survived. She had burns, but she made it.
But Akash, he didn't. His aunt Jossie, she said something like, he died in front of our eyes, blinded by smoke.
Oh, that's just gut-wrenching. A hero, a son, lost right there on the ground.
And it's so important to remember those ground victims, too, alongside everyone on the flight. The total human toll is just, it's hard to grasp.
It really is. The figures we have are stark. 241 of the 242 people on the aircraft perished.
Which makes it the deadliest air disaster anywhere in the world since the Ethiopian Airlines crash back in 2019.
241 lives, gone in an instant. But there's that one exception. That one person who survived against all imaginable odds.
Viswash Kumar Ramesh, he was on AI-171. He's in hospital now, fighting through some very serious injuries, but he survived the impact.
Just incredible. A single survivor.
As for the casualties on the ground, the picture is still developing. Those initial reports on June 12 mentioned at least 30 bodies recovered from the hospital and college site.
And that number, sadly, might still go up as the search and recovery continues.
Then there's the incredibly difficult task of identifying everyone who was lost. We heard from Dr. Meenakshi Parikh, the dean at BJ Medical College.
Right, she spoke about the challenges.
Yeah, she explained that because of the fire and the impact, visual identification is often impossible. They're relying heavily on DNA matching.
Which takes time. And she asked for patience from the families, which must be agonizing for them, but it's necessary to be accurate.
Absolutely essential. And behind every one of those numbers, there's a person, a story.
Exactly. We've seen reports highlighting some of them.
Oh.
Captain Sumeet Sabharwal, the pilot, very experienced apparently.
Yeah, and tragically, there were reports he was actually planning to stop flying soon to care for his father, who was ill.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking. And Dr. Pratik Joshi, too, a radiologist from the UK.
Yes, based at Royal Derby Hospital, he was traveling with his family. The Derby Hindu temple community where they were involved, they mourned them as devotees who served with dedication.
Such personal losses. And we also heard that the former Chief Minister of Gujarat, Vijay Rupani, was confirmed to be among the passengers.
Right. Each one of these stories, and the hundreds more we don't know the details of, just emphasizes that this wasn't just a plane crash. It was 242 individual lives, families, dreams, all caught up in this.
And as the news broke, the reaction wasn't just local, was it? The grief really spread around the world.
It really did. The global response was fast and, well, very visible. Take the sports world, for instance.
At Lord's.
Yeah, at Lord's Cricket Ground in London. The next day, June 13th, before the World Test Championship match started, players, officials, they all stopped. A minute of silence. Black armbands.
A powerful gesture. The ICC, the International Cricket Council, even shared a tribute video. It shows how sport can sometimes pause, to acknowledge something bigger.
Definitely. And online, the tech world responded too. Google put that simple black ribbon on its homepage on the 13th.
I saw that. Very understated, but very clear.
Air India itself changed its social media logos to black, a visual sign of mourning.
And governments reacted too. The European Union. Their delegation in New Delhi lowered flags to half-mast.
And Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president, she posted on X, formerly Twitter, saying, Europe mourns with India, the UK, Canada, and Portugal. This tragedy affects us all.
That really captures the interconnectedness, doesn't it, when something like this happens?
It does, and political leaders weighed in quickly. India's Prime Minister Modi visited the crash site and the hospital that same day, June 12th.
Showing presence on the ground.
Great. And the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, expressed his shock and condolences.
We even saw figures like the comedian Firdaus posting support for Air India on X. It just shows the breadth of the reaction, really.
It touched many different corners of society, globally.
So, okay, with this level of devastation, the absolute burning question is, why? What happened? What caused that plane to fall?
And that's the hardest part right now. The simple truth is we don't have a definitive answer yet.
That's the job for the investigators, right? India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, the AAIB, they're leading it.
They are, but it's a big international effort. Because of the British passengers, experts from the UK's AAIB are involved.
And the U.S. too, because it's a Boeing plane.
Exactly. The U.S. NTSB is participating. And GE Aerospace, who made the engines for this specific 787, they're providing technical support as well. It's a complex web.
So what are the initial thoughts? What theories are being looked at?
Well, based on those very early observations, some experts are focusing on potential thrust issues, maybe an engine failure, or perhaps both engines weren't producing enough power right after takeoff.
They mentioned things like the landing gear still being down.
Right. If the wheels weren't retracted, that creates a lot of drag, making it much harder to climb. And also observations about the wing flaps maybe being in an unusual position for that phase of flight.
Flaps are crucial for lift at low speed, aren't they?
Very crucial. So those are all clues the investigators will be piecing together. There's also talk, as always in these situations, about a possible bird strike.
Though usually not this catastrophic for a large jet.
It's less common for it to cause total loss of control on a twin-engine jet, but it can't be ruled out. And then there's the very rare possibility of both engines failing simultaneously. Statistically extremely unlikely, but technically possible.
The key to unlocking this, though, is the black box, isn't it?
Absolutely. The flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, We know they were recovered from the wreckage after about 28 hours of searching. That's the holy grail for investigators.
So that data, combined with radar information, any CCTV footage from the airport or nearby, eyewitness interviews, it all goes into building that picture.
Painstaking work. Analyzing every second of data, every word from the cockpit recording.
Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg put out a statement saying they stand ready to support.
Which they have to, of course. It comes at a tricky time for Boeing, given the scrutiny over the 737 MAX incidents a few years back.
And India's Ministry of Civil Aviation has reacted quickly on that front too, right? Ordering safety checks.
Yes, they've mandated inspections on Air India's whole fleet of Boeing 787s that use the same GE engines as the plane that crashed.
But it's really important, isn't it, to wait for the actual evidence from this specific investigation before drawing lines to past issues.
Crucial. Speculation doesn't help anyone right now. We need to let the investigators do their work with the data they have.
Okay. Back on the ground in Ahmedabad, the immediate aftermath was just chaos, I imagine.
Complete chaos, mixed with incredible human effort. The airport had to shut down completely, flights suspended, passengers stranded, massive disruption.
And the emergency services, working flat out at the hospital and college site, dealing with the fire, the wreckage.
While the city's hospitals were suddenly overwhelmed, treating the injured from the ground impact, and sadly, preparing for the victims.
Helplines were set up, but you hear stories of families just desperate for any information in those first hours, finding it really hard to get clear answers.
Understandably so, amidst all the confusion and trauma.
And then the legal side starts to surface. We've seen comments from aviation lawyers like Demetrius Danas, who worked on the Ethiopian Airlines case.
Right, advising families not to rush into settlements, to wait, understand their rights, see what the investigation finds. It's a grim reminder of the long process ahead for those affected.
But amidst all this darkness, you do see these flickers of, well, resilience, hope almost.
Diswash Kumar Ramesh's survival, it's almost miraculous. A real point of light in this.
And the sheer bravery of the first responders. The doctors, nurses, firefighters, police, running towards the danger when the plane hit.
Truly remarkable efforts under horrific circumstances. Air India's chairman, N. Chandrasekaran, he's publicly committed the airline to supporting the families.
Setting up an emergency center, providing assistance, those are vital first steps.
Absolutely. Necessary support for people going through the unimaginable.
Looking at this more broadly,
Right.
it really does put aviation safety back under the spotlight, doesn't it? Even though flying is generally very safe.
It does. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner itself has had a very good safety record overall since it entered service. Statistically, this incident is an outlier.
But statistics mean nothing to the families who lost someone.
Exactly right. And an event of this magnitude inevitably forces the industry to re-examine everything. Aircraft maintenance protocols, pilot training regimes, air traffic control procedures.
Start asking, was this a complete freak accident, something totally unforeseen? Or could it point to, a weakness somewhere in the system?
And only the investigation, based on hard evidence, can answer that properly.
It's a stark reminder, isn't it? Even with all our technology, flying isn't infallible. We think of the Ethiopian 737 MAX crash, or the mystery of MH370.
These events punctuate the safety record and remind us of the potential risks, however small they usually are. AI171 is now tragically part of that history.
And the cultural impact, especially within India, must be immense. Air travel is such a symbol of progress and connection there. And Air India, it's the national carrier.
It holds a special place, yeah. So this feels very personal for many people across the country. You saw that reflected online on platforms like X.
A real mix of things there, I imagine.
Definitely. Heartfelt tributes, shock, grief, but also, inevitably, some speculation and even conspiracy theories starting to bubble up.
I saw that quote circulating, "Even the clouds are crying over Ahmedabad today."
Yeah, that captured the mood for many. And the fact that Air India flight crash in Ahmedabad was trending globally just shows how quickly and widely the news hit.
And that global reaction we discussed earlier, the Google ribbon, the flags at half-mast, the moment at Lord's Nest, it underscores how interconnected we are now, especially in grief.
It really does. It's like the mourning scene after other international tragedies, like the Columbia shuttle disaster involving Kalpana Chawla. Her hometown in India grieved, but the world felt it too.
With AI171 impacting people from India, the UK, Portugal, Canada, plus the ground victims, that sense of shared loss is just amplified across so many communities.
So, thinking about the path forward, what happens now? For Ahmedabad, It's clearly going to be a long road to healing, rebuilding physically, but also emotionally.
And the investigation? That's going to take time, right? Months, probably.
Easily. Analyzing the black box data is meticulous work, but it's just one part. They need to examine wreckage, maintenance records, operational procedures.
Everything.
Families need answers. Closure. The aviation industry faces intense scrutiny. And there's the practical question of the hospital and college complex. What happens there?
All difficult questions for the future. Healing will come through memorials, vigils, community support, finding ways to remember.
And stories like Viswash Kumar Ramesh's survival, even with his long recovery ahead, they offer that thread of hope, don't they?
They do, and it's crucial that the memories of Akash and others lost on the ground are honored just as much as those on the flight. Their sacrifice, their presence there is part of this story, too.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on Air India Flight AI171, it really leaves you thinking about, well, the fragility of it all, how quickly things can change. Absolutely. But also, amidst that devastation, we see that incredible human resilience, the instinct to help, the way people connect across borders in sorrow.
The investigation will eventually tell us what happened, hopefully why. Those might be difficult truths. And the pain for the families. That lasts for years.
It does, but then you look at Akash's bravery, the work of the responders, the miracle of Viswash Kumar's survival. It shows that even in the absolute darkest times, humanity finds ways to endure.
Ahmedabad will heal, India will mourn, the world watches. But there is always a way to rise, to rebuild, even after something so immense.
It really poses a final thought for all of us, doesn't it? When faced with such profound loss and the stark reality of uncertainty, how do we as a global community process that grief, hold on to hope, and crucially ensure that the lessons learned from this tragedy contribute to making the future safer for everyone who flies?